I know guys, it's been a minute. I took a little bit of a break or hiatus from YouTube just to relax for a little while, but today a new exotic weapon has made its way into our arsenal and was released. This is the Ruinous Effigy. It is an exotic trace rifle that's probably one of the most unique exotic weapons we've seen in a long while, and this is probably one of the most different or weirder takes on a weapon in the Destiny sandbox. They definitely went pretty out there for this one, and I think it's pretty cool as a result, actually. The main exotic perk of this weapon is transmutation. Final blows with this weapon collapse victims into void transmutation spheres. Its second perk is evolution. Transmutation spheres you create can actually be picked up and wielded as a weapon by you or even your allies. And depending on your input method or controller settings, you're gonna have different buttons mapped to a light attack, heavy attack, and even a guard or drain nearby combatants ability. So yeah, like I said, this weapon is pretty far out there. The Effigy deals 17 damage to the head and 13 damage to the body. This is pretty much the same as Cold Heart minus the Cold Heart ramp up effect, so it's going to have a similar but slightly slower time to kill than Cold Heart. For reference, Cold Heart's time to kill is 0.73 seconds while hitting all headshots, and to the body it's a 0.93 second kill. So for this weapon, as I mentioned, expect something similar but maybe slightly slower. But I'm sure you know if you're using this weapon, you're not using it for its vanilla functionality. You're using it to get kills and slam dunk on people. When you kill a target with this trace rifle and pick up the transmutation sphere, which from here on out I'm just going to refer to as a ball, the ball will last about 30 seconds, give or take, and the light attack with the ball against another guardian in PvP deals 150 damage. So yes, this means it is not enough to kill in one light attack. And to be honest, it's not exactly a fast light attack either, so you can't go like double meleeing people with this really quickly. It doesn't quite work. And even though you would assume that this has a similar type of movement to maybe some artifacts and raids that you're required to pick up, and you can kind of do that jump melee ability, that movement tech does not work with this. The heavy attack, however, does deal quite a bit of damage, and that's enough to one-hit a guardian in PvP, and it's got a pretty generous radius too. It deals about 300 damage with a 6-meter radius. The animation itself does throw you forward about 3 meters, give or take. So between the animation throwing you forward and closing the gap and the 6-meter radius, you actually have a pretty forgiving radius in which this will function and allow you to, of course, one-hit a guardian. So for all intents and purposes, the main objective of using this weapon is to go and dunk on people. Now, although the main objective with this is just to go and dunk on people, there is that drain functionality still, and it wasn't really the greatest in PvP, and I don't really see it being too useful, but it's cool. It deals damage ticks that deal 11 damage per tick to a target when they're within your radius, when you're holding the guard button per se, and it actually drains health. So if you're weak, you actually steal their health. It's not very quick by any means, and it's only within a 6-meter radius, so I don't see it being too great in PvP like I mentioned, but it's there. For those who are interested on the stats on this weapon, although I don't really think they matter, because if you're using this weapon, you're not really using it for the stats, you're using it for its unique functionality, but it has 8 impact, 50 range, 80 stability, 58 handling, 40 reload, 84 aim assist, 12 zoom, 96 recoil direction, and a 94 mag. The only thing I can really say that relates to the stats of this weapon that was most relevant is when I was using it and shooting, of course, it in gunfights, I noticed that the range really did, to me at least, feel subpar. It felt like it was very noticeable when there was range drop off, and it was pretty hard to compete with some other normal weapons in all honesty, which is disappointing as this is of course a special weapon that requires special ammo and takes the slot of things like shotguns and snipers. Another thing worth mentioning is when I was aiming down sights with this weapon and in a gunfight, it felt like getting flinched really threw this weapon off target, like it really hurt, and it was quite difficult to stay on target. Now I don't know if that's a byproduct of the range I was fighting in or just the range being low, but this weapon really did feel like flinch hurt it and the range wasn't the greatest. I don't think it takes a genius to see that this is more of a fun, mess around, hilarious meme weapon than it is a truly effective, I want to play to win type weapon. And I think that's okay. I think it's great that Bungie makes crazy, unique, funny exotics like this that aren't really game breaking, that have a decent curve to it, but still allow you to have a lot of fun and do some cool things with it. I think that's awesome. However, if we were to talk about what is the best quality of this and how to actually use it legitimately to attempt to win, I think the most interesting and unique aspect to this weapon that gives it a lot of depth and play is the fact that your teammates can pick up the balls that you create, thus allowing them to take advantage of that and use that slam themselves to get quick kills. The way that I see this weapon playing out and the potential that it has is less about you getting a kill and immediately going to grab an orb and being restricted to then a melee weapon essentially. I think it's less about that, and it's more like get a kill, leave the orbs on the ground for you, or better yet, your teammates, to later utilize them in a gunfight to go for a trade or to get a quick kill on someone that they're not expecting at all. Just imagine a scenario where you have a teammate fighting, you get the cleanup kill on the person that they were fighting, there's another person rushing them, they can go and grab the ball that you made and just slam dunk on them. And you know, maybe I shouldn't be trying to make sense of a weapon that was clearly meant for some sort of just fun shenanigans, but always for me, when I see a weapon, I try and think of how can I legitimately utilize this as an advantage to win and have an advantage in a game if you wanted to actually use this to win. And I really just think that picking up a ball immediately after you get a kill is not only wasting time on the ball that you have available, but it's also making it harder on yourself because you have to close the gap against the enemy team, who now knows if you picked up that ball and you are trying to go slam dunk on them. It actually starts making it more difficult for you. Rather than getting kills, leaving the balls on the ground for as long as you can and allowing your teammates to utilize them where they see fit and where they could be winning easy engagements with something completely unexpected. And is still pretty funny, to be honest. I don't think there's much else to say about this weapon. It's pretty straightforward and pretty fun, so try it out. And I'm really happy to see Bungie doing really cool, crazy things like this that don't really break the game, but still give you something crazy, unique, and fun to use. In the coming days, we have a lot of weapons to cover that I haven't spoken about yet that I'm pretty excited to talk about now that I am back. So I hope you stay tuned. As always though, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.